Coach, can you talk a little bit about why your team has been so successful at home when it seems like you struggle a little bit on the road?
We played really well. We've only played 3 games in this series. We didn't play as give the other team credit in game one. We didn't play very well. In game two, we played really well. But unfortunately, our business is about the score, and so I base it on performance, not score, more than anything. That way, we stay in the right place all the time. You can play really well and lose, and then the questions are always, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
A lot of times in playoff competition, you get great performances from unexpected sources. Is Voynov that example of what I'm talking about now, and how he's been so successful?
You have unsung always at playoff time. The farther you go, or basically what happens if you don't make the playoffs, then usually the top end, what are perceived as star players, take the heat, or coaches. As you go further down the road in playoffs, the only way you do it is by having great depth. So there's guys that get a little bit more spotlight, usually because of offensive production. So when you talk about somebody like Voynov, well, that's why we put him in a lot of situations, so for him to excel at what his skill set is. So basically what you're asking him to do is maximize his skill set. Simple. And if you do that, then you get an opportunity to play in those situations. It's really all it is for somebody like him. It's one more year's experience removed from playing in the American League, to coming up partway through the year, to playing in the playoffs, to playing back in the American League this year, to coming back to the NHL, and then to play the same amount of minutes again at playoff time. So it's just a little bit more experience.
Darryl, along the lines of Voynov, Dustin Brown talked about in the room, they're just so impressed with how he's able to match up physically against the bigger guys, the way he was able to match up against a Thornton in the previous round. And just, for a guy of small stature, he seems to play, they're really impressed with how well he plays defensively against some of the bigger players. Is that accurate?
I think there's a lot of talk made about size, big teams and all that, but quite honestly, it's a bunch of bull. When you look at the actually stats part of it, I think everybody's team average is 6'1" and about 204. So that's what our team is, that's what their team is. Some guys are just under it, some guys are just over it. So is there a big stature difference? I don't think so. We try and have him so that he's not always on the ice against Hossa and Bickle, and so he's more into his skill set. So he can, again, maximize his skill set, not try and put the square peg in the round hole.
Darryl, it looks like the hearing is over, but we don't know what came of it yet. You said last night you weren't expecting anything. Are you hoping for something?
You know what? I moved on right after the game. I have my feelings on it, and I think I'm correct, and that's it. And after that, it doesn't matter, because quite honest, it never has.
How's Jeff Carter today?
Pardon?
How's Jeff Carter today?
It's awesome. I wish I was Jeff Carter today.
Anything on Mike?
Pardon?
Anything on Mike?
Oh, no, you know what? Guys were just got here at 11, and we're just sort of circling the wagons and know as we go along. I just literally talked to him for 30 seconds every morning.
What kind of progress did he make yesterday?
Pardon?
What kind of progress did he make yesterday,
He had a
Darryl?
light workout, and I don't know if that's progress or not. I talked to him for a minute after the game, and he was more interested in the fact that we won more than how he was feeling.
Joe, did you think that after giving up 4 goals in game 2, that they would be getting it back at all on Jonathan go through that?
No. I think that obviously we wanted to have a couple of those goals back, but he's also the guy that parks and rides pretty easy.
Joe, when you first got here, what were your initial impressions of Voynov? And when you first saw him, first couple of practices, and maybe how have they have they changed now that you see him gain this experience?
I'm not even sure if he was here. Was he, you guys? Was he? I can't
When he
remember.
first came up then.
And then basically, because we were in I guess what I remember most was he wasn't playing much if he was here, and it was a big adjustment for him. There definitely was a language barrier, whether he was uncomfortable with not wanting to converse or whatever it was. So that's an issue. You have to be able to coach and player and teammates have to be able to communicate. And I think that was an issue here in a lot of different areas. So that was really important to me. But then the next part of it was because of the roster and the team. I forget when it was. I know there was a point that we'd sent Slava back to Manchester, and at that point it was basically to get King and to find roster spot for King and Nolan, and that's when he went back. And then he came back to the big club when we traded for Jeff, and basically it was to replace Johnson. We were just basically saying, okay, we're going to see, we're kind of on the fine line here. We're seeing if we're a playoff team or not, but let's put the young player in there. We have a veteran partner to give him. Let's see how he plays, and that's what we did. So what's the progress that he's made since then? I think that we put him, again, to answer the same questions earlier, we put him in a position to succeed, not to fail. And he's, obviously, because he's a young player. I mean, he has so little experience. You think about it, actual game experience at this level, and quite honestly, he's probably got almost as much playoff experience as regular season experience. I bet it's close now. So there's been highs and lows in this season. There's been highs and lows in his playoffs. That's for sure.
Anything else? Darryl, can you talk about what Justin Williams has done in this postseason for you guys? He seemed to be everywhere last night.
I think he had a really good start to the St. Louis series, and I think he'll be the first one to tell you that as the series went along, he really struggled. I think that the travel and just the way the series was a tough, hard series that it wore him down. He's not a young guy. He's one of the older guys in our team now, and even though he's only 33, but I think it took its toll on him, and I think we didn't have much of a reset between that and the San Jose series, and he struggled during the San Jose series in terms of he measures his game, a lot of it on his offensive opportunity part of it, and I think he wasn't getting what he wanted, and he was a frustrated player, and I think there's times that trickles into parts of the game that was not productive for the rest of the team. So you have to watch how you use them. I think that it hasn't certainly been one of these for his playoff. I think he'll be the first one to tell you again that he was not play the way he wanted in Chicago in Game 1, and so we're making a big deal of it today because he had a good first period last night. We need him to play like that every night.